Hey there, Sam back with you here. Got some members interested in a look at Vertcoin to Bitcoin. So I've got it up here on the daily. Now, this is a coin with some volatility. So I'm on Bittrex here, and I'll show you. So if we come over here, Vertcoin is really a favorite trading vehicle, and you're probably well aware of it. It's not that huge in the market cap. But just a really passionate following of traders. Now, so we're sitting here at 254 million. We're at 58 on the scale. It's good. This I like to see. I always like to see good development, good activity amongst the development community here. 99.8% of it traded to Bitcoin, and then the bulk of that on Bittrex. So we can see here a little over 66%. So easy for us to pick what we're going to look at. Now, this. Wow, what do you do with that? That's insane. Somebody bought it there. But, so now we're just sideways. So the reason I do that, so looking at it daily, is because it's easy to lose perspective. So we had the after this insanity, then we had this fairly good pump here. So it's always a good idea to, as you've seen me do before, wick off these prior highs. And what's kind of interesting, if I've got it right on that, that's right here at the negative 1618. Kind of interesting coincidence here, assuming we've got some good pivots to work with here. So again, I've got to open it up here so you can see this, otherwise it just doesn't make any sense. But after that, then we just long sideways, and now we finally are starting to see potentially the start of a new trend. So now that we have some perspective on it, now see if you open this up, if you don't look at that to your left, this looks gigantic, like, wow, this thing is just flying. So with that perspective in mind, I've just wicked off the absolute lowest low that I could find relative to that here's the last pump, and then we go all the way down. I got to the lowest low I could find, wicked it off, so we had a reference point to start with here, and it certainly looks to me like we've got a good 1, 2, 3. Now we've overlapped the 1 for the 4, but again, given the context of where we are, what we're trying to get is a good 1 wave, so not a surprise that we might end up with a diagonal here. Should this hold, now we've come right to the sweet spot. So I have to tell you that technically this is one of my favorite trades on the board because it's unusually nice here on a daily to get. So we've got a golden corner pocket here. So the pivot here, so of the 3 pivots, that our third pivot is right between the 618 and the 65, thus the golden corner pocket. Now, so if that holds. If this pivot holds, we have an 80% probability of making the median line. So you can see why I like this trade. If it holds, all right. So this is so we have a combination of, we've got the algo target here from the hot box down here in the golden zone. So we've got here sitting here with a stop on the other side of the 65. That's 12.5 to 1 on the assumption we make the first algo target and get our way back to the median line. So I like those odds. So think about that. Where else in the market can you get 80% odds with a 12.5 to 1 risk reward? Please email me, find me, call me, track me down. If you know someplace where you can get better odds than that in the market, I would absolutely like to hear all about it. So given that, right, so I on the assumption that you won't be able to do that, I'm going to tell you that that's a trade that I absolutely love. Now, that doesn't mean that it can't get stopped out here. Doesn't mean that at all, because this could go deeper. I mean, we could move. We could have some stop running here. This could end up down here. There's nothing that says we couldn't go as deep as the 786. It's unusual to go that deep in a diagonal, but it could happen. So I love this trade just purely for the structure, for the potential median line return, for the risk reward. It's almost impossible to find something not to like about that, other than today the market seems to be selling off. Right? I mean, ideally you want to see it get into that corner pocket and then react and get this. Look at this last time we were here. Look at that reaction. That's right. We all hope to see that. But we're not getting it today. Now, who knows? Maybe we got a lower volume today. I don't know. It's a holiday. Who knows what's causing this little sell-off? But it's selling off. So we're coming back down. It would appear we're going to go back and we're going to test the 618 and test this pivot. That's fine. The fact that it gets tested doesn't discourage me. That's a good sign if we get a reaction. Now, that remains to be seen. There's not a lot of help here from oscillators. You know, again, this is a daily chart too, so to get deeply oversold takes a pretty substantial move. I mean, you've got a little divergence here between this pivot and this pivot. So, you know, not a lot of help there. We're really making this trade off of the fib pole and the market geometry and that structure. Now, it's worth noting here that if we're going to call this a 1, 2, 3, that we measure the 1 relative to the 2 low, and we can see, well, we've gone exactly 200%. Exactly. Well, if I get it right on that. It's exactly 200% of the length of the 1. So there it is. So this projected from here exactly 200%. You know, again, things don't happen randomly in the market. That's kind of interesting to me. So we get potentially a good third here. Now it's a deep 4 again with the overlap. That's, you know, again, not to be, you know, anything. It's nothing to be surprised by. Is we're trying to carve out a 1 wave now, of course. So we want to see this hold. So I'm in this trade. I love this trade. It's my favorite trade on the board right now. But that doesn't mean it's a winner. Just I love the structure. I love the risk reward. So my stop's under the 65. I see this little pivot here potentially, you know, providing some structural support. But again, nothing says that we, you know, can't just keep falling. So let's go down to the lower time frame. See if there's anything we can deduce from that. So I got to realign these. This is often the case when you change time frames that dramatically from a daily to an hourly. So looking here, so here's into the golden pocket. So here's the last time, right? So that was the reaction that you love. But then look, it gave it all back. So it doesn't mean that once you get that reaction out of the golden zone that you're off to new highs. But that's the reaction that you'd like to see. So coming down here, excuse me. You know, let me blow it up a little bit more. So let's take a look here. So the first thing I'm going to start doing is checking pivots, just to say, okay, well, what's happening here? Are we trading technically? Well, that's not what you want to see, but that's nothing to be surprised by. That the first resistance we ran into was at the 50. So we get once, twice. So it looks to me like we had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into a 1 potentially. You know, this is a deep 2. We don't know, but that is worth checking here. So on this side, if that's our 1, and we've got an A into a B and then down into a C, you know, again, it's deeper than you'd like. Right, as much as we love the trade, it's deeper on the retracement there. So potentially this still could play as a 1 and a 2 here, looking for a 3, 4, 5 to take us out of this. That's possible. We've got an ABC here that makes sense. So if looking at that, potentially, you know, we're into some sort of a double bottom there. So it remains to be seen. So we're getting a little reaction there. You know, we're kind of have to wait and see. So I'm going to pull some of this off here, since we're looking for this. So does that make sense? Well, you know, I'd start looking for clues on these pivots to see. Okay, do I have that? Well, that's kind of interesting. There's 100%. So if this is going to keep going, so this would be a point to be aware of. That would be a revisit to the 618. You see that? So if I'm looking here, pivot low. Do I have that? Yeah, I do. So if that's if that's our A wave, so we get a 1, 2, 3, 4. So we get a diagonal into the A wave. Here's our A, B, C into the B. So now that I've got 3 pivots, of course, I'm going to start looking for some structure. Do I have anything there? So let me put that in original recipe. So we get that. Okay, so we start to see some possible confluence zone down here. This would be, you know, interesting if so here's our 100. Here's our 618 of the larger pull, right? So here's the golden zone. We're in between the 618 and the 65. So giving it a little perspective, I mean, that certainly plays. It's deeper than you'd like, you know, certainly. I acknowledge that. So given so if we go that deep, well, now we're challenging the pivot here. So that's a little troubling. But, you know, it may be that that's what we get. So in effect, you're testing the low, so you get a double bottom. We're not there yet, but that could very well be what's happening here. We'll have to wait and see, you know, what kind of reaction we get if we're going to continue to move lower towards the median line. I'd also, that's original, since that's close, I'd want to check modified shift, because that'll give me, in effect, that'll give me a channel on it. So just to make that point, as I've done this many times, but if I draw a channel here off of this, do you see how close that is? Do you see how, so a modified shift, not always, but it's very often very, very close to the same thing you'd see in a channel. So I prefer to do it with a pitchfork because I want to see reaction at the median line. But you could make the same diagnosis here with a channel off of the center line of a channel. That's why you always want the center line on the channel, because it's replicating the median line of a modified shift. So if we're going down here, so here's the 100, here's the 618, here's the wave 2, here's the channel support. So there's a lot of things suggesting that that's a reasonable spot. So you could look at it, a couple of different ways. One way, which is not unreasonable, say if you're not in this trade, well, what a nice spot to get a new long. All right, I mean, so see, that's just how that's a question of how do you approach the market. Some people say, "Hey, man, I only buy it when it's going up, and if it's going down, I sell it." Me, I only buy it if it's going down. So for me, I'm looking for that pivot, that technical pivot, because I'm not going to buy it if it's going up. To me, that's just increasing the risk. I'm looking for the precision entry here where I can buy it. Thus, if it keeps going and we take out that low, the premise of my entire trade is wrong, and I know that I'm wrong here. So I'd rather take the small stop. So look at that. So let me put this. So if you're a buyer here, okay, we've got huge, huge, huge upside. Where am I wrong? Where am I absolutely wrong? Right there. If I get on the other side of this pivot, then this as a 1-2 is wrong. Okay, so this then, if I get a new low here, I have to redraw the median lines, the pitchfork. And I still potentially, I could stay in this golden pocket. I come down here and visit again. So let me pull out so you get a sense of that. So if I open this up, all right. So this is why I like this trade. So where the larger median, I've got to go to a 4-hour to show it to you. So if I look at that and go, okay, well, what am I trying to get to? I'm trying to get to the median line up here. Right, so if I'm a buyer there, so that's where you see my 12.5 to 1. So I've got this very low risk. You can see my alarm set here. So if I'm going to get stopped out, I want to know about it because I might want to reconsider, whether I'm getting long here. So, but here's the entry we just did. If that's the one wave, and I was going to make the median line from that corner, well, there I've got. Oh shit! I got to open it up so you can see it. So it's too small. I can't even show it to you. So that's 13.8 to 1 with my stop there. That's if we get the median line here. But again, I'm not anticipating that it's going to be a straight line. Right? I'm anticipating that if we're going to pivot here and we're going to go to the median line, I'm looking for the median line here on the larger degree, on the larger scale, if you will. And it's not going to go straight. So I'm not expecting a rocket, right like that. That's not what I'm expecting. I would anticipate that it's going to do it in a 5-wave sequence to get me up to the median line here. So I'm working off of the larger. If you go into the trade off of the daily, then maintain your target off of the daily. That doesn't mean you couldn't take a partial here if it were to do that, but this is your long-term target. So hold for your long-term target. Remember this, we also, again, putting it in context of where we were, we've got much higher potential targets if this is a one wave, because as I showed you when we started, all we're looking to get into is the one wave. So we're trying to get into the third of the first of the fifth, which would be the fifth, which would complete the one wave, right? Do you remember when I took you all the way back out to the daily, how much upside there is here? So again, putting that in that context, that's the precision entry. I don't want to risk too much here because right now, I don't know where my bottom is. I just know I've got a pattern here that sets up, that tees me up for extreme risk reward, or for extreme reward with very low risk. So if I now come back down to the hour and we look at this and go, does that warrant, maybe I want to add to my position there? Maybe not. Maybe I'm, just good to let it sit and look for more confirmation, more validation that that we've got a pivot low. Sorry, alarm going off. So that's the whole premise there. So, a lot of people going, uh-oh, why is it going down today? Well, More sellers than buyers. I mean, really, I don't really care. As long as if it's something dramatic, then I want to know what's going on. If there's something unusual happening, this, we're really, all I see is we're sort of just chopping around here, trying to get something started. A little softness today. Well, everything's a little soft today. It's just, it's a Monday, it's a holiday. I know crypto never sleeps, but that could be part of it. I haven't seen any news that would be causing this. Bitcoin really, stuck in a range. So I don't see anything here that alarms me to make me want to go, whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't want to be in, nor do I want to consider a fresh long. I don't see anything like that. So, that's kind of trader's choice. If you like the long-term potential here, it's hard to not love the risk reward. If you want to wait for more confirmation, you wait for a reaction down here, and then you trade the first pullback, right? If you get one. Okay, guys, that's it for that one.